What is the Republican Party? How did this party start? Who made this party truly the grand old party? I won't necessarily go into a lengthy history lesson of the founding of this party, but what has the party stood for throughout its time? Liberty, freedom, the push to make the words of the Constitution a reality. That the Declaration of Independence means not just freedom against foreign governments, but freedom from domestic slave owners, abolishing the idea of being ruled over and selling one's basic rights to somebody or something for security and safety. The basic ideals of the Republican Party, which, even though the party may have started in the mid-1800s, the ideals harken back to the time of the founding of this very country. What happened yesterday in Boston? I mean, what can you say? People got hurt. Some lives were ended. Families, friends have now lost someone because of a senseless, utterly evil attack at the Boston Marathon. Now, myself, I haven't watched the news yesterday and really haven't watched the news today because I really can't watch as the mainstream media will talk non-stop about who did what by whom and where. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So, I'm not going to watch the news today either. And I'll get messages from folks about what happened. We'll find out in the days to come of who possibly did this, some motives, and all that. Make no mistake, I'm not diminishing the seriousness of what happened today. This is yet another reminder that this is the world we live in. That there are people out there who are deranged, psychotic, crazed, across the world and here at home. And that life is precious. We live in the greatest country in the world, but we are not led by the greatest leaders. There are those in elected office who feel that it's wrong for you, an individual, to choose to drink a large-sized soda because of your weight, or having too much salt in your meals. And the reason for gun violence isn't because of criminals who commit the crimes by breaking the laws, but that law-abiding responsible citizens who own firearms are the ones that have to give up their rights guaranteed by the Second Amendment. You know, the narrative these days in the news is how much conflict and tension there is in society. And that this belief that you as an individual are incapable of knowing what's best for you. And so with enough stories churned out, built for emotional reaction, public opinion changes. And that people feel that Big Brother can guide you, can reassure you that you will be taken care of. Just put your full faith into the hands of your government, and everything will be good. All will be well. Those who follow that belief love the idea of getting free stuff, free phones, free healthcare, free education, free this, free that. And you know, in reality, it's in fact sinking oneself further into dependency on an entity, becoming completely and utterly incapable of deciding one's own best interests, to the point where there is no choice but be obedient to the one that offers you supposed security, safety, shelter, and food. This is very difficult talking about all this, and originally I was going to devote today's show entirely on what happened at the most recent Illinois GOP State Central Committee meeting in Tinley Park, but it really does put into perspective of what things are more important. And so, my prayers do go out to those in Boston. I hope no more lives are lost and that those injured can have a speedy recovery. Horrible. It's just horrible. So, to make that giant leap of transition from all that to the Illinois GOP State Central Committee meeting, and well, here we go. I may not ever go to another State Central Committee meeting again as a mere spectator, despite being a Republican precinct committeeman, one who has a vested interest in the party of Lincoln. Not after how I, along with many other grassroots activists, were treated this last go-around in Tinley Park. And I want to say this too. Okay. I identify myself, Dimitri Broches, mainly as both a social and fiscal conservative. But I wouldn't care if the GOP chair was a moderate. Yeah, you heard me right. I would not care. Me, a fiscal and social conservative, would not care if the GOP chair was a moderate. Why do I say that? As long as the chairman follows, upholds the platform of the GOP, and is an active chairman, making sure to support all Republicans, both conservative and moderate, not picking sides during the primary, not only raises a decent amount in fundraising, but recruits enough volunteers and help to support candidates in those tough swing districts, you're good in my book. We don't have any of that with the current chairman. Now, I'm sure Pat Brady, as a person, may be a nice guy and all. I don't know him well enough, but his personality isn't up to question here. His political viewpoints are very questionable, and I've been in sharp disagreement with him about a number of things, including his support for same-sex marriage. But his political viewpoints aren't the reason either I believe he should step down. Performance. How he conducts his job as a state party chairman. There we have a serious problem. I have a serious problem with him on that. 5 GOP congressmen elected in 2010. But we didn't grab majorities in the Illinois General Assembly or pick up the governor's mansion. That screwed us over. And the result was in 2011 when the Democrat majority in Springfield drew up the maps, gerrymandered those maps like hell. And plus, because of the census, Illinois losing a congressional seat, it wasn't pretty. 5 GOP congressmen in 2012 gone. And further, destroyed in both the state Senate and state House. I call that a failure. I don't want to hear about any outreach towards minorities and women voters. Plenty of them ran for office. For the GOP and the state party specifically still neglected them. Outreach means supporting those who do run, those who have the courage to be a candidate in difficult districts like in the inner cities of Cook County. They were neglected. No help or any token support. And for all the talk about Pat Brady, listen. I hope the next guy or gal who comes in next as the chairman of the state party isn't the same way. One who just allows this party to fizzle away, grow more and more inactive, and not participate in various communities. Otherwise, the party itself will find more and more of the active grassroots, both conservative and the moderate types, jumping ship for a party that will better reflect an active political organization. Either the Democrats, who have all the power, or the third party groups that have been working hard at grabbing hold of disenchanted Republicans. Will they listen then? The Illinois GOP leadership? Makes me wonder what will happen then in 2014. How the Illinois GOP intends on changing things up, since clearly both 2012 and arguably 2010 were failing election seasons for them. Will the leadership continue on the path of inactivity? Just hold on to those Senate or representative seats of those in leadership positions, and everyone else just sort of leave them out for the Democrat wolves. 2014 will be an interesting year, and especially during the primaries, where I wonder if the leadership will once again openly involve themselves in Republican versus Republican races. I guess neutrality can go to hell. And this is a message to all of you Republicans, both conservatives and moderates alike. And I want you to listen. Do you want a chairman who will fail candidates on both sides of the Republican political spectrum because of failing leadership and lack of resources distributed? You want someone who will lead the state party back into a state of respect, self-worth again. One that can be proud of its members identifying themselves as Republicans and fighting the good fight in turning Illinois into a purple state and saving us from the fiscal mess that the Democrats have been creating without a strong opposition party. We live in a third world style government state. And at this point, the Illinois GOP is a weak, controlled party. That must change. And with energy and activism and the will to attain the resources and volunteers, it only takes 2 or 3 election cycles to make our state purple. You know, folks, it can be done. This isn't just some pipe dream. It can be done. Even here in the land of Lincoln, this can be done. But we can't do it with the current leadership that runs this state party. Something's got to give. Many of the grassroots activists were there at Tinley Park. And they saw the kind of respect that they received, or rather lack thereof, from many of those in the Illinois GOP leadership. Waiting outside 3 hours. Expecting during those 3 hours that some kind of vote would have been had on whether Pat Brady would keep his job or not. And after those long 3 hours waiting, and you know, who got locked out here? Let's think about that for a second. Who got locked out? It was the grassroots. These are the people that are the boots on the ground. These are the people that are out knocking on doors, making the phone calls. These are people who are volunteers. They're not doing this for pay. Some of them are campaign candidates as well, who have been waiting to get support from the state party, the county party. These are the people who talk to their constituents. These are the people that the Illinois GOP should do everything in their power to support, because it's them who go into their communities, who attempt to recruit, who attempt to convince potential voters to pick red in the ballot, to pick the R, to finally do away with the Democrat control of this state. These are the people who are brave souls, both moderates and conservatives, from northern Illinois down to southern, from Chicago to Metro East, the Quad Cities, Rockford, Springfield, Decatur, Champaign, all over this state. That's who was outside those doors in Tinley Park, locked out, waiting 3 hours, only to be told that such a vote didn't happen and that Pat Brady retained his chairmanship. I don't know which is worse. Pat Brady keeping his job or waiting outside 3 hours. Which one is more insulting? I'd say waiting outside for 3 long hours. That's more insulting from your own party. We deserve better. We honestly do deserve better. And this is something that turns off potential voters into voting for Republicans when they see their own party treating their grassroots like dogs, like animals. Go outside, calling the police twice. It's disgusting. And it's shameful that many of those grassroots activists put up with that. Oh, they gave Pat Brady an earful, though. They sure did. They gave him an earful, as well as many of the state central committeemen. And you know what? I'm not going to give them a pass either. Some of them were good. Jim Oberweis, I give him credit. And a couple others as well, but many of the other state central committeemen, shame on them. They're almost as bad as Pat Brady. They should have known, too, that those being locked outside for 3 hours, 3 long hours, that they definitely had a say in these matters. And a legitimate say. Knocking on doors, making the calls, tiring themselves out, just so that they can get a Republican candidate to win in their districts. They have a say. And not only should they have been heard, 3 hours. 3 hours. What is this? They're locking out the Occupy Wall Street? The Democrats? No. No, these are the people that you depend on come election time. After the way that they were treated, do you really think that they're going to come out in numbers to support you next time around? Do you honestly believe that's going to happen? A lot have been turned off by that. A lot were turned off about it, and rightfully so. And you know, I think after that event too, a lot of those grassroots activists became a lot more selfish. That, you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power to help the candidate of my choosing. I'm not going to go out of my way to support someone that's endorsed and backed by the Illinois GOP. That's not going to be enough. I'm going to do my own research. And if it's somebody who is worth my time, going up to strangers' doors, calling them up on their phones, passing out literature, putting up signs, in all kinds of weather, rain, sun, snow. You know, these grassroots activists are going to be a lot more selfish. And they deserve to be. Because they They represent the Republican Party. These are the people who convince as many people out there to vote R in the ballots. And whether the leadership acknowledges that or not, who knows? I'm not going to attempt to try to think what's in Pat Brady's head or some of the SEC members' minds. I'm not going to try to. I think it's a waste of time. In short, I think what needs to happen is that we just need to focus more so on local matters, local and county matters. Issues that are in our own backyard. We may not be able to change our state leadership. Not yet, at least. I think that day is coming, and I'm an optimist. Despite the tone of my voice, I really am an optimist, but I'm also a realist too. And the truth of the matter is that we as Republicans, as grassroots activists, we need to strategize and do what we can to change for the better what goes on in our own communities. To make sure that we get good county board members elected into office, that we have good aldermen, that we have enough trustees that will look for the community's best interests, knowing that we can't have elitists from the state leadership being lobbied by various different groups and such, and they are so distant from the concerns of their own constituents. We deserve better. We deserve better, and I think we have worked so hard as grassroots activists in helping out candidates, and I think we've also been discouraged at the same time too, and especially in 2012 with Barack Obama winning re-election. Now there's a lot of blame to go around for that, and I'm not going to go into all of that, but if each of us just focuses on what goes on in our own communities and local and county matters, and if we push hard in our own backyards, one county will get conservatives elected. One county can get moderates, Republicans, more. And I consider myself a conservative. But at the end of the day, I want Republicans to go out, be active, and elect more Republicans into office, because even though I may disagree with many things with a moderate, I can find a lot more agreement with him than definitely a liberal Democrat. And I'll fight hard to get a moderate elected, so long as they keep and stay true in making sure that they change Illinois for the better. That they do everything in their power to get us out of this fiscal nightmare. And to help create legislation that doesn't ban large-sized sodas. Doesn't come up with legislation that would eliminate salt shakers from tables. Or create legislation for coming up with banning assault weapons. Same-sex marriage. We have more important things that we need to worry about. We need to get our fiscal house in order. Any other state, then I would feel that we could at least go into the social issues, but Illinois, we're right in the bottom. Our credit rating has been downgraded. I've lost count. We're in bad shape. And we need candidates, both in Springfield and also in our county, in our local areas, to get serious about it. We have some, but there aren't enough. We need more. And we need Republicans to spearhead that movement that we need to get our stuff together. We need to get our fiscal house in order, and we need to create smart legislation that can work on messaging to the people and make them understand that we can't pay our bills now, and that we all may need to make sacrifices. But it must be done. We have got to do something about the debt and the deficit. We can't allow 67% tax hike increases that supposedly were supposed to be temporary, but it continues on. We have no transparency. We allow Mike Madigan and his Democrats to run free and spend crazily. We need to get serious. We need to get behind Republicans and make sure that the message here on out, we need to do something about the debt and deficit, and we need to do something fast, and we need to do something important enough that we can make a quick turnaround. I'm not saying that we're going to get rid of the debt and deficit in a couple of years' time. It's going to take longer, but we need to see results soon. We need to get serious about this. I, as a fiscal conservative and a social conservative, the social issues need to take a break. What needs to happen in Springfield, what needs to happen, and I don't mention D.C. at all, because there are 49 other states out there that can worry about the debt and deficit in the national level. Let the other 49 other states deal with D.C. We got our own problems in Springfield. We need to solve this. It has to be solved. We have got to be serious. For our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren's sake.
My soul straight down out of the world, but my fingers holding